G'day folks, thanks for clicking on the video. So I'm standing in here in the shelter that I've just finished, and in the three-part series, the video series I did on the making of this shelter, I didn't want to go into any great detail on things that were happening. I didn't want to do a lot of talking. I wanted to keep the videos as short and as punchy as possible. So a number of things got left out, and I wasn't trying to hide it from you at all. I like to show my mistakes so people can learn from them, make their own mistakes. They don't have to make the same ones I've made. And that's what this video is about, just to show you the things that went wrong and how I resolved them. And hopefully you guys can learn something from it. I enjoy sharing it with you. I enjoy making the videos. Hopefully you enjoy watching them. Alright, let's get into it. Thanks for watching. Alright, so one issue I see quite a lot online is people building shelters without putting any bracing into it, and you end up having an issue with racking. And what racking is if you imagine all these straight poles, there's nothing sort of stopping it from leaning over, twisting around. So that's what this rail is here, just a bracing piece to prevent it from doing that. And happy days. So if you're building shelters, put some bracing into them and they'll be a lot sturdier. And yeah, that's that. Right, so this is the first real issue I had with this this shelter build. I've gone through weaving the walls, and to try to save some time, I've probably used about a third the amount of sticks that I should have used. So I end up with these big gaps in between the weaves. Now that's not a problem if you've got lots of clay and mud and dry grass nearby, but it was a problem for me because the clay and stuff that I'm using is 200 meters down the hill, and I've got to carry it all back up the hill, and I've also got to carry up the water and go out and find the grass. Whereas I could have saved a lot of energy by just collecting the thin branches that are all around the area, and spending more time on actually weaving them closer together. But as I said, if you've got the resources close by, then by all means you could leave a loose weave like this and just pack it with grass and clay and happy days. But this is how it should have looked. So as you can see, above the fireplace, I've woven them a lot closer together, and then if I put clay on it, it really pushes in between those gaps. Whereas if you've got big holes down like here, there's a big hole on one side anyway, it just falls out and you end up having to use a lot of clay to fill it up or use grass. But in the pieces where it's close together, use a lot less clay. So you might spend the time putting all the sticks in, but you save yourself a lot of energy when it comes to actually collecting the clay to put into it. Alright, so we had about 1.5 inches of rain last night, which is it's great news for you guys, not that good for me. And I say good news for you because I can show you the results of that. People always ask me, how do these things hold up in stormy weather? Well, yeah, 1.5 inches of rain in about an hour and a half. So yeah, it well and truly bucketed down. And surprisingly, I was expecting quite a lot of water through here. I still haven't finished the back of the shelter here. I still have to bank up the dirt there and sort of create channels to divert the water flowing down the hill around the shelter, but I haven't done that as yet. And considering I haven't done that, there really isn't that much water that's come through. It's not like I've had torrents running through here. It hasn't even reached the far end of the shelter, so it's pretty good. It just hits this wall, whether it's still flowing around the wall a little bit, and sort of got me out of trouble. But yeah, that's just how it is. As I said, people say, how do these things hold up in wet weather? Well, yeah, hopefully I'll be out here one day when it's belting down rain and I can show you, but that hasn't happened. Alright, another issue I've had is the palm frond walls. I don't know if you can pick that up or not, but yeah, I've never worked with palm fronds on anything this scale before. Just I've done some crafty stuff, but so it was a bit of a learning curve. And the south wall, which is that other the first wall I did, I'd actually soaked the palm fronds for a couple of days, pulled them out, and I'd actually left them out for a couple of days before I got to work with them. So they had dried a bit before I started attaching them, which made it a little harder to attach, but they didn't split as much as these did. The other issue I had was a lot of the palm fronds were old, that they'd been laying on the ground for quite some time. They'd already started rotting, but that was all I had available to me. So as a result, when they started to dry, they shrunk and curled up, and I didn't help matters by, when I lashed them on, in some spots I tied them on pretty tight, almost like you would a tarp or a skin, and as they dried, there's no give in them. They're just rigid, they're hard, there's no flex at all, so they just tear. It's not a major problem, it's just a bit more work. What I'm going to do now is got some more palm fronds that are wet. I'm just going to cut patches, put them over the top, and just attach them with a bit more cordage. And yeah, I imagine I'm going to have to do that over time, but that's all right, bit of maintenance. And yeah, happy days. If you wanted to do it without it splitting as much, you wouldn't necessarily tie them on. You could do a like a lean-to style shelter and just make up a framework, lay all the palm fronds on, and then lash timber over the top, so you're not actually putting holes through the palm fronds. And that way, as they dry and shrink, they can move and do whatever they want underneath the framework if you've got an overlap. So as you saw, it can be an issue with the smoke. When it gets hot enough, the smoke drafts out of this chimney reasonably well, but when it goes back down to coals, or when you're first lighting that fire, it's yeah, smoke goes everywhere. So what I'm going to do, in one attempt to resolve the issue a little bit, is extend this chimney up further. Now I do have plans in the future to make a smoker above here and be able to shut off the smoke and redirect it, so I can have smoke going into the smoker box, or I can close it off and just have smoke coming out of the chimney. However, in an attempt to get the shelter less smoky, I'm going to have to extend this up a bit, and I'll put a cap on it just so rain can't get in. The other issue I was having it open like this. When the wind would come from the north, it'd just push it straight back into the shelter. So if I bring it up a bit, cap it off, the wind's not going to be able to do that as much, hopefully. Working with rocks, it's like a giant jigsaw puzzle. And if you like jigsaw puzzles, it's all good. But if you don't particularly like jigsaw puzzles, like me, then it's not the most fun experience working with rocks. You'd think you get stuff built a lot quicker with rocks. You get boom, 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 up it goes. You end up spending a lot more time just trying different things out. And yeah, big tip for you, if you are building a fireplace with rocks, try to find lots of flat ones. They're so much easier to stack rocks like that than trying to get rocks like that and balance stuff on that. So that's my tip. Get flat ones, get as big as you can, so you've got a lot more base to work with. So if you imagine, you can put one down, another one straight on top, but if you want to slope it in, you can just stagger them. Next one can be slightly more in, next one slightly more in. If you go too far, obviously the whole thing's going to lean over, but if you've got another side coming in this way, hook them up together and then put a big one across the top to stabilise everything. I've still got to pull this apart again yet. I'm just dry fitting this to just figure it out, because I want it yeah, I could stick it on with clay, get them all to hold in position, all happy days, but when it rains this clay softens and if they're not, set in place and they're not held together by their own weight, when that clay softens, things could start falling apart on me. So I don't want that. So it's important to get them nicely balanced under their own weight before I start applying clay to it. Clay's just to help lock it all in there, but I want it pretty set beforehand. Right, another thing with working with rocks is that they're heavy, and if you have to transport them any great distance and picking them up, you can hurt your back. But when I'm working with it here, I'm constantly aware that this can all come crashing down. So I'm trying not to have my arms and legs and that underneath it. So if it does fall, I'm not going to cop a rock to the shin or onto the toe. So yeah, when I'm standing here, I'm sort of just keeping everything out of harm's way, as you'll notice. Right, you're seeing this at its worst, which is the whole point of this video, is to show you the real issues and how to resolve them, if I can resolve them. The extension I did to the chimney, it works to some degree. When I'm first lighting the fire, if I've got wood in there with bark on it, or as it dies down, it generates a lot of smoke, which all comes out the front here. Once I get the heat up, it drafts out through the chimney a lot better. The other issue is that I've got this the grill that I put in it. It's close to the front, so if I'm frying something in a pan, I can see what's going on. But I really need to have this fire pushed right to the back, right up in there, so that you don't have this as much smoke coming out of the front here. Now, we'll see what happens. You can already see what's happening. You're going to see what happens when this dies down. So I've pretty much put this fire out by pushing it back there. And I wanted to see how much smoke would come out through the front here. As you can see, there's a bit. Again, it's still just isolated here around the fire. If I'm sitting over there on the bed, it's fine, and I've got the bamboo wall there. Plenty of air can come through there, so I'm not going to die of smoke inhalation. It might sting my eyes a little bit, as it is now, but I think the only real solution would be if you had a much wider chimney. So instead of a small, like my opening up through the chimney is about that big, if you made that a 1.5 foot, really big chimney, it could actually get all this smoke out through the chimney rather than filling the chimney up, and it can't all escape, and so you get this effect of it kicking back out into the shelter. Once there's not as much smoke, the chimney can handle it fine. But this shelter is pretty big. This bit of smoke coming out of here is not going to affect me in the slightest. If I sit back, so I'm almost out of frame here. I'm way away from the fire, like I'm a meter from the fire. And there's no smoke here at all, and I'm still a good 1.5 foot from the bed. So once I'm laying on that bed, happy days. Alright, since I decided to do this video, it's just had one problem after another. I think I've kind of cursed myself a little. I'm not trying to hide things in my videos. If it fits with the storyline that I'm trying to tell and keeps the story and the video short, I'll show it if I think it adds to it in some way. But other than that, I leave it out. It's not that I'm trying to hide it, it's just that I'm trying to make videos that flow better. And this is one of those situations, trying to keep the video short. I didn't include this whole section in the part 3 video. And what this is painter's tarp, painter's drop sheet. You lay down, it's a canvas. I've used it before in the treehouse, in the first shelter I had. Never had a problem with it. So I'm lashing it off on here. Halfway through I thought I'd test it out, and it just tore on me. yeah. So I'm not showing it in the part 3. I'll find something else to put on here, but I thought I'd show you guys. This is one of the potential problems you have with it. With the first shelter I did, if you ever watched those videos, which are pretty boring, but I tried it a couple of different ways, and what I found was if you did like a full sleeve, so I wrapped it around back onto itself and lashed it off, it was fine, so you had like a tube. However, in this situation I didn't have a big enough piece of tarp. I could have bought a bigger piece, but that's just money I didn't have. I'm going to sit in this just to show you what's happening here. I'm probably going to end up in the dirt, I imagine, but we'll see. It is comfortable, apart from it tearing. In this kind of tarp, it's really comfortable to sleep in. But yeah, with this one, it's just the issue that it's a lot weaker than the other ones that I've used. It's a heavy duty tarp, but it's still. Now I've got to try to get out of here. Now it's not a complete waste. I'm going to take all this tarp off of here, trim it up, cut all these rubbish pieces out of it, wash it, and then I'll stretch it onto a canvas and use it for oil painting. So it's kind of a win. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you that. Issues. All right. Alright, that worked pretty well. To say I was nervous, it's an understatement. That was my plan B. I didn't have a plan C for the bed, not in the time frame anyway. I'm actually putting the video up tonight as I'm talking to you, and I'm here. And I've still got to finish filming, then edit and get it up online. So yeah, if this had a broke on me, I didn't know what I was going to do. But let that be a lesson to you. If you've got an old hammock at home, like I have, this one from when I was 11 or 12 years old, don't throw them out. You can always find a new use for it, whether it's a gill net or a new bed mattress for your shelter. Alright guys, well that's the video done and dusted. I hope you got something from it. Hope you've enjoyed watching the building of the shelter as well. If you haven't seen that, check it out on the channel. But until next time, stay safe. I do appreciate you watching the videos, as I always say, because I mean it. But yeah, until the next video, take it easy. Thanks guys.